All right. I have Chuck here from First Christian Church in downtown Eugene. What's your last name, Chuck?
Sturms.
Sturms. All right. Well, it's glad to have you over. And we were just kind of starting to get in a little conversation. And I was like, oh, we got to get this on tape. So, like I said before, it's just kind of like a little talk. It's to hear about your spiritual journey. And I think you have a lot of good things to say. You're referred by a pastor, and I'm glad you were able to come over here. So,
thank you.
Yeah, if you like, just maybe start from the beginning, maybe like a little ways back, when you were younger, and then kind of what got you involved into a spiritual path, and kind of what led you down the road.
I'll say this: I didn't choose where I was born, nor did I choose my parents or the language I speak right now. Those were kind of imposed on me. Mm-hmm. Also, my parents and my extended family, the context they were in, frankly, they didn't choose it either. It just happens to you. Right. And so I grew up in a context of what we would call fundamentalist Christianity. Mm. And I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian church. Ah. And you grow up and say, well, you're born, you come out, and here's my mom and my dad. Mm. And by the way, Chuck, here's your name. I didn't choose that, and I didn't choose the church they went to. Right. Mom took me to church, so I grew up in what we call a very, very conservative Christian church in Ohio. It was, my parents were dislocated or farming people who migrated north, near Cleveland, and I was, we were hillbillies, okay? I'm a hillbilly, and I'm proud of that. Yeah. And that's my heritage. Yeah. As my parents, they went to church, and they went to a hillbilly church. Yeah. And I did too. and that's the only game in town. Yeah. And so, I was socialized into, this is what we do.
That's all you knew, right?
This is all I know. Yeah. And actually growing up, it was wonderful, at least for me. Right. Everything is in its place, and everything is ordered, and this is what you do on Sundays. And so we went to church a lot. Yeah. So I grew up a church kid. And the books, they gave me the Bible and all that. I grew up on that. And
is it you enjoyed it though?
Well, of course, enjoy. Your parents love you. I mean, your parents aren't going to turn you to a horrible people. Right. They're doing. My parents were doing the best they could. Yeah. And I'm just kind of on the train, trusting them. Hopefully, that my parents aren't going to mess me up. Mm-hmm. So I grew up as a fundamentalist Christian, believing literally in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And the Bible says this, and this is what I do, and at least. This is what I'm doing at 5 years old. That's in my brain. Right. And so, if I can say this, I eventually embraced it as wholeheartedly as I could. And at that time, I took it serious. I said, okay, if I'm going to be religious, I'm going to be serious. I'll learn the Bible. Yeah. And so I grew up going to church a lot, and learning church things, and being with church people, and doing the practices that they did. And I didn't really realize there are alternatives. Right. We, in the church people that I grew up with, we were people who had the truth. Mm. And other people, for whatever the reasons, they don't know, they're ignorant, or they're misguided. Right. And so I felt bad. These people don't know the truth. I know the truth.
Right.
My church knows the truth. The people that I hang around with, they know the truth. These people don't know.
Right.
What? How can that be?
Right.
I mean, they just don't know. They don't get it.
That's how I felt growing up too.
And that's troubling, because the teachings that I was given with the people that don't know, well, they're in trouble. And we know, and we have a responsibility.
Right.
We got to do something. These people need to know.
Right.
So I remember as a kid growing up, teenager, I'd go and knocking on doors and people slam the door. What do you mean?
Trying to save you.
we don't want saved,
right.
or you're nuts,
right.
or go away, or something else. You know,
right.
I mean, and I was well intentioned.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I really care, but these people just weren't interested.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
You're not interested in the truth?
Yeah.
Well, we are, but that's your truth, not my truth. And so the world wasn't getting on the bandwagon.
Right.
What? So this is troubling.
Right.
And then other people who said they were Christians, my church said, no, they're not really. They're, because they don't understand. They don't know how to read the Bible.
Right. There's some Christians that are,
they're kind of out to lunch, and what you do is you work with them and you love them and care for them and be their friends and convert them.
Right.
And of course.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got the way, then you got to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I was raised. And it's no surprise that I what can I?
Yeah. No one was in the bathroom.
Okay. All right. You wanna pause this real quick? I know you need it.
Well, I can if you want.
Here we go.
So.
All right. So yeah, that's how it was. Kind of growing up.
People are born all over the world every day into X,
right.
Whatever X is, and say, "Oh, geez, I'm a Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist, whatever, fill in the blank." And you grow up. It's normal. That's what everybody else is, isn't it? Right.
Right.
And so I grew up as a fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't have free will or choice. I really don't.
Yeah.
You are what you are.
Right.
You are what, I'm not speaking Chinese now. I'm speaking English. And it's because, did I choose to speak English? No.
Right.
I'm kind of trapped.
Right. That's kind of how we are, right?
And so we got to make the best of whatever whatever flavor of ice cream I am. Okay. There are other flavors.
Yeah.
So I'm a fundamentalist Christian, and
did you go off and do missionary work or anything like that?
I became an ordained minister.
Oh, really?
I went to seminary. I got a degree, and I figured out I was really dumb after I got my first degree. So
the degree is a pretty extensive program, right? To become a minister.
Well, people take themselves serious,
Yeah,
our church, so you gotta spend X amount of years studying our stuff. So I did, and I finished. I went to what we call seminary, and ordained in the church I grew up in.
Right.
Then I went to another school and got another degree because I felt like when I got out I was still stupid and didn't know everything, and I want to know everything.
Yeah, right.
So I went and got another degree, and then frankly I still was stupid when I graduated, so I thought, I'll go for another one. Maybe that'll help. And so
you're just searching.
Well, I had been in the military, and the government was paid for my education. I had GI Bill.
Okay, yeah.
I was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and So I'll just go to school and I'll learn stuff.
Yeah.
I was a hillbilly, kind of insecure, and so I'm going to be an educated hillbilly. I'm going to be really smart, and so I just did. After 3 degrees, I thought I'll stop for a while and take a break, and then I went to Indonesia as a missionary. I mean, and so I wanted to go where people. This is the largest Muslim country in the world.
Yeah.
So I learned the language, I pastor churches, and I'm working with Muslims. And
how long did you do that for?
I did it 6 years.
Oh, wow.
But things kind of fell apart.
Ah.
Because so I'm working with Muslims, and it's a Muslim country, and of course evangelism is against the law.
Oh, really?
You're not supposed to evangelize.
Right. Okay. Is it communist country there?
No,
it's not.
It's Muslim.
It's just Muslim.
It's
right?
Muslim.
Yeah.
And of course, for me, it being against the law makes no damn difference. Okay?
Right.
Of course, missionaries had freaked out. Well, most of the missionaries got booted out because I was also a linguist, and I taught in the universities, and I pastored churches, and I evangelized.
You're a pretty big threat there.
Well, I threatened not so much to the Muslims because I'm hanging around with them.
Yeah.
Learning their ways and going to the mosque and talking to the imam and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't find the Muslims uptight with me. It was more or less the Christians were uptight.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Because I was breaking the law. And you're not supposed to break the law.
Oh, I see.
And I says, yeah, but have you ever read the Bible? And you know what it says about people they evangelize in prison.
Right.
And they evangelize when you're not supposed to.
Right.
And isn't that what your holy book's saying?
You're supposed to adhere to the laws of the Lord
God.
Instead of the laws of the land.
You guys are paying attention to the governments.
Yeah.
And I'm not free from that, and I'm not stupid either, but I was kind of on the edge.
Yeah.
So my
I'm sure that was an incredible experience to go through to be part of that, though, to be there for 6 years.
I found my Muslim brothers and sisters. I couldn't use that term at that time because they were lost and they were going to hell, and my job is to save them.
Yeah.
And so I started to learn Arabic, and I read the Quran, and all kinds of things happen. Not so much to them, but to me.
Yeah.
So I'd been studying the Quran and the Hadith for a long time, and the Muslims knew that, but they said, you're a Christian and you're a pastor too, and this wonderful blend of contradictions.
Yeah, it sued.
and they said, so I was teaching in a Muslim village. My wife was a nurse, and so my wife taught the women, and she was teaching birth control. I taught birth control, and they said, you're carrying around the Quran, and I said, oh, of course I am. This is a Muslim country. I need to know how you folks think, and they said, well, this is a Muslim village. Go figure. And they said, you have the Quran in a translation of it in Indonesian, and we can't read the Arabic. Could you teach us the Quran in Indonesian? So I started teaching.
Wow, that's really great.
The people. The people in this village, Islam.
Wow.
and so
that's incredible.
Because I just read it and we talk about, well, this is what it says. I says, I'm not a scholar in Islam, and frankly, the Christians are kind of outraged at this, the ones that found out. And also certain Muslims are outraged. You can't do this. This is
betraying
not.
both groups here.
Well, everybody's pissed off at me, pardon my English. What, you can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't do that? They asked me to do this.
Yeah.
It's your people.
Right.
You teach them.
Right.
Well, you're not doing it, so I am. Well, so, it was that kind of stuff that, as you can figure out, I got in trouble with everybody. And it was interesting how religious people would be, whatever flavor they are, would be threatened with me crawling inside their holy books and tearing it apart and trying to think about how it works.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
why not?
Why not? That's what I think it's there to do.
I'm a seeker.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyhow, that didn't go well for the Indonesian Christians that I worked with. Were fine because they lived there and they live in a context of Islam. And I was living there. I had started the process of renouncing my American citizenship. I'm going to live here for the rest of my life. I'm raising my kids there. They're grown there. They're born there. They speak Indonesian. I went quote native, which that's a threat to certain people.
Yeah.
The Indonesians didn't think it was a threat.
Right.
This is the best country in the world, and you're becoming an Indonesian citizen. You hang around with the Muslims. Okay. That works for us. I'm teaching in the universities, anthropology and linguistics and literature and having a great time.
Yeah, sounds.
But everybody else is kind of, you can't do that. You're breaking all the rules. And which rule breaking sometimes is a very good thing. It's a difficult thing. So I came back to the United States.
Everything has to end at some point or another.
The church went.
Oh, so when you came back, you just tried to jump back into a Christian church here in the States?
Yeah, and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
I had something had happened. A wonderful thing that I didn't know about. It wasn't in the plan. I went to there to save them, all these people, and frankly, they saved me.
Really? That's great. I love hearing that stuff.
It's horrible because it's threatening. I'm an ordained minister in 2 different denominations. Both of them couldn't deal with me because it threatened them.
Right, it threatened them. It threatened their, because a lot of people don't want to really look at all the work it takes to really, better yourself and in the practice of spiritual program. It takes a lot of internal work, looking at yourself and everything. And when somebody else comes in that has enthusiasm and is like curious to learn about stuff, then they're like, oh, why is this person so gung-ho about this? And I'm not doing any work around here. I'm just kind of showing up to these things, and this person's like trying to do some work. It makes them look bad. People get jealous. It's a lot of people. It's or they think that you're gonna find something in there that's gonna question their faith, and that you're gonna say that they're wrong about something or whatever it could be. And it's like, well, no, if we're all here just trying to look, right? What's the harm? Let's figure this out. Anyways.
So, I think the churches that hired me, I was a point man in the war in Cambodia, and I think my qualifications for being an ordained minister is that I was a point man.
Really?
In war.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to do that, and so I didn't have the fears they had.
Yeah.
You were going to die. Okay.
Yeah.
What? So when I jumped into Islam, I mean, nobody's shooting at me.
Right.
Man, I can go anywhere and do anything I want, any place on the planet.
Yeah.
No. That doesn't work that way in this world. What do you mean it doesn't? These people are Muslims, and I love them, and they love me, and we can work together somehow.
Yeah.
We have our differences. No. And so you have the camps, the Christian camps and the Muslim camps, saying it's just that's not the world we want to live in. That's the world you may want to live in, but that's not our reality. I mean, there's history. You know about history? Yeah, I know about history. So I came back to the United States and rewired myself in the universities with a totally secular credentials, because my plan was to go back and work in Asia, which I still do, not as a professional God person,
right,
but just as an academic.
Yeah.
And so I come in, I get in country X, and I work based on my academic credentials.
Yeah.
And I don't tell them that, I'm a little bit of everything. Back in the United States, then I taught at Northwestern Christian University.
Right here in Eugene.
I taught social sciences, and
that's a pretty prestige. I mean, it's fairly looked up upon, right, around here at Northwest Christian.
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah. I mean, it's harder to get into than the University of Oregon.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I taught there social sciences, anthropology, linguistics, sociology, comparative religion. So for the next 25 years, I taught comparative religion. So we'll do Buddhism, we'll do Hinduism, we'll do...
Wow.
And so these are all, it's in a Christian context. So, okay, we'd go to mosque, we'd go to a temple, we'd go, and I'd say, these folks believe these things, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And of course, you folks believe these things, and you're Christian, and can we learn from them? So I'd have speakers come in, and so I did this for 25 years.
Wow. That sounds so fascinating.
You can't teach comparative religion for 25 years without it scrambling your brain. Right?
Kind of.
Because my job is to listen to what a Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Taoist, whatever, and crawl inside their head, and the test is I can articulate that system of how they understand their assumptions about how the planet works or doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. So you know a lot of profound stuff, but where do you come in as far as, like, at that point? Were you said it was just a little bit scrambled? I'm sure you had a lot of wisdom and
Islam
knowledge.
was my passion for a long time. I taught in the university back in Ohio Islam to students who were going to the Middle East. So my job, and maybe because I was safe, I was a Christian and I was ordained, I could teach Islam. Well, I'm safe, but yet in some ways, frankly, they figured that out. I'm more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because whose side are you on?
Yeah, like they have to know.
If a Muslim's sitting in my class, I'm not threatened by that, because he or she's listened to me, and I'm going down and here's the 5 pillars of faith, and here's the Hajj, and here's about jihad, whatever. And they can say, you didn't attack my religion. You taught it with respect.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I thought Christians all just hammered people.
Yeah.
Well, because I was the point man. I'm going to go in to people who are totally unevangelized, never heard the name of Jesus. I'm going to go at it. But as I went in there, my stupidity or my bravery or lack of discretion got me in a lot of situations which were difficult, but I started to change.
Yeah.
For the worse, some people would say, or for the better for other people. So
what do you mean by that?
Well, I now work at the University of Oregon, and I take kids to India every year for a month. And
what part of India?
It's in South India, Pondicherry, close to south of Chennai.
Okay.
I work with the Sri Aurobindo Society, and and so, okay, I have this Islamic background, and plus I have comparative religion, but I'm now living with Hindus in an ashram, and they're I get the excitement to learn about the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahayana, Ganesh. I'm in temples. I'm doing all this stuff, and I have this monotheistic perspective in Judaism and Islam and Christianity, and now there's another layer coming in here. I'm 70 years old, and I'm pounding Hindu philosophy into my head now, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, you love it, huh? That's
and
great.
It's just taking my brain, and I've been doing this now for 7 years, and reading Hindu texts.
Yeah.
And what it's done is just given me a whole nother set of references to think about the cosmos and the world, how it works and how it doesn't work. And so it's funny when I come in, because U of O is not a Christian university. Now I've done the Christian university.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing a state secular, no religious, and I feel like my taking kids, students, whoever to India is U of O. This is the most religious class in the whole damn university.
Yeah.
As we're in temples, I take them, and you can watch people going in, and so one of the things, I didn't have to learn another language at this point. You can do this in English in India, and so a couple years ago I was in India, and the head of the place where I was at introduced me as a Hindu. He says,
"Oh, wow.
You're the U of O Hindu." And the other guy, and by choice.
Yeah.
Not. This is because I crawled inside this stuff, and I love it.
Yeah. Incredible.
And it totally contradicts everything in my initial childhood in Christianity, and it contradicts everything in Islam, and so my journey isn't even finished yet in life.
Yeah.
And there's still so much to learn. It's
You're having the time of your life, it sounds like.
I now see the people on the planet as all my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so if someone come up who is a Buddhist or an atheist, it doesn't really matter to me that it's a place where we can talk and have a beer or drink a cup of coffee and talk about life and what it means and what it doesn't mean. And I'm not threatened by that. I go to a Christian church, and I just taught a Sunday school about 6 months ago on Embracing Chaos, written by a Hindu.
Yeah.
And it's a Christian class, and it's basically an introduction to Hindu philosophy.
Right.
And I told everybody, this is a disclaimer. I'm going to think and talk like a Hindu. I really am. And this is a Sunday school class, and I'm not afraid to talk about Jesus in the Bible. But right now, that's not where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And it was well attended, and I didn't get thrown out of the church.
That's great.
And so now I started a Sunday school class with the high school kids. We're not doing it right now, where I want to go and visit every place of worship with the high school kids in Eugene. So we'll do some Buddhists, and then we'll talk about it. And we'll go to the Unitarians, and then we'll talk about it. We'll go to the Catholic Mass. Okay, we're Protestants. We're going to go go to Mass, and we're going to unpack what's going on there. Then we'll go to the Greek Orthodox Church, and we're going to do that. And we're just going to go looking and studying, and we'll bring people in, and bring the priest in, bring the rabbi in, and we'll unpack that.
Wow.
And it's just, this is what the world's about.
Yeah.
There's all this diversity,
Yeah,
and for me growing up, there was only one flavor of ice cream.
Mm.
But I think there are many flavors of
Absolutely.
ice cream, and we need to taste every one of them.
That's why we're doing this podcast, right? Many paths. And that's how I see. If you come over to Saraha Neiman Temple, that's where I go.
Sure.
I could probably arrange it with the owner and director who just did the podcast a week ago or something here. He's a great guy, and I could talk to him. Maybe you could set it up to where you guys could come in sometime when the resident lama, who's from Tibet,
that would be wonderful,
is doing a little teaching or something. Yeah, so it'd be great. We got a really good lama at our place, so that'd be great to have him over. And then there's a Zen center, like a Japanese Zen center in town. And the director of Saraha, also knows the director of the Zen center too. So probably get you in contact and do something.
Well, I know Patrick there.
Oh, Patrick.
Well, that's his American name.
Yeah.
And
okay.
It's
He comes to Saraha.
The world is a gift for us, and
Yeah.
you can go around and open all the gifts that the world gives, or you can close them and never open them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in rebellion against my childhood and my parents, but I think in my experiences in life, I wanna do and experience and see everything.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm only 70, and I don't have enough time. If I lived 1,000,000 years,
yeah,
it's not enough time.
Right.
And I'd learn all the languages and read all the books on the planet.
Yeah.
And so that I can't always be that higher energy, but mostly that's what I want to do. Sometimes I want to take a nap.
Yeah. Well, so my wife and I, let me just check this one more time here. Yeah, it's still going good. It's just that I can't make sure. Anyways, my wife and I have been wanting to go travel and go to India.
Yeah.
We've been wanting to go so bad for a while now. We keep talking about it, and then I was telling you before we started this that I went down to California a month ago or a little longer, and to go to the whole ceremonies and the blessings for His Holiness Dujam Yangtze Rinpoche. And when I was down there, I met a lot of people that lived in Nepal, that were from Nepal, and they're like, yeah, there's a university there, and it's an international university, and you can study Buddhist studies, and I could get my master's degree there.
Right.
And I was like, well, I graduate this year, and maybe my wife and I can make a trip, in a year and a half, and do my master's program in Nepal. And so we're actually thinking about that now. So I just really so fascinated with other countries like India, Nepal, all those, countries over there. It's I really, so that's so great. And I have on my shrine, on my Buddhist shrine, I have a book here I'll grab. So it's kind of funny, I just, this isn't a very common practice, but I have this book and a Holy Bible on my Buddhist shrine. And this book right here is called Sacred Writings, Buddhist, Hindu, Mohammedan, and Christian. So,
who's it by?
Mohammed. Sorry. And that's just kind of to put into my head on my shrine. Like,
is good.
there's threads of universal truth in all religions and spiritual practices, and the only thing separating the religions and stuff is the human ego, and so if you can understand that, so the way I look at it is God's trying to teach us about him, right? And there's many different people from many different walks of life, right? So he has to teach people in different ways that make sense to them. And so, and then the problem is people think, well, this way that I was taught is the only way, and that has to do with their ego. They don't want to feel less than anybody else. They want to feel like their way is the right way, and they don't have any equality with the rest of the world. It's always like a better than or less than, and so I really think it has to do with the human ego and self-centered fear. People are fearful of things that that is dear to them, and if their religion is dear to them, people that haven't seen all sides of life, they might not understand. They think everybody else is wrong or whatever. And this is my way, because I was brought up Christian as well.
Sure.
And I was baptized when I was younger, and I had spiritual experiences. I felt God, and I really did. But I didn't know how to maintain a connection with God. It was just kind of like, well, you just go to church, and you've been baptized, right? And you just say your prayers and go to church and you'll be fine. It's like, but then life kind of wears on me, and I'm like, how do I deal with some of these problems and stuff? And it seems like I wasn't, it didn't have what I was looking for in that way. But I totally still believe in the Christian faith. That there's tremendous truth. And then the way I got into Buddhism was it kind of takes out all the concepts that you have, that you've been conditioned over your whole life. And, society teaches you all these things, your parents teach you all these things. You have a lot of good and bad experiences throughout your life, and some things might not end up in your head the right way. You have all these concepts going on in your head, and a lot of them weren't right. They were judgments and opinions of other people. I thought, I was smarter than most people, and I knew the right way, and other people didn't, and I just didn't know why everybody, was the way they were. I don't understand it. Why can't you understand these things that I understand? And but that was my concepts, and that was my ego. And so Buddhism just dismantles all that. You unlearn everything, basically, until you're left with the experience of God, or the experience of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into Buddhism. And now I make it a point to remember those things, that like we are all brothers and sisters. So I put this in the Christian Bible on my shrine, along with all my other Buddhist stuff. I don't know how some people would feel about that, but frankly, I don't care.
Well, this is a funny joke, or maybe not so funny. It takes me about 15 years to crawl through all the religious teachings of religion X, and on average.
15 years?
Yeah, what I do, and that means taking all the courses the university will teach in it, going there. I go as far down the road as I can with religion in certain path, and then I try another one, mm-hmm. and another one, and so maybe by the time I'm 75, I've worked through 5 religions, and read everything that and studied everything, and I'm restless. I'm more now. Well, I'm on the board of Interfaith Prayer Service International in Eugene. So every 11th we have which is tonight, we have a service of interfaith where people from Native American or Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Mormon, Christian, Sikh, whatever. Speakers come in and we meet for about an hour and a half, and
Wow.
we have a prayer service, and people get, and we try to be fair because the board is made up of all people of all faiths, and my faith, frankly, is interfaith. I'm not. None of my beliefs are airtight, and
Right.
this is in and this is out. It overlaps. Me being a good Muslim or a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu really doesn't interfere. They don't interfere. They don't always mix.
Right.
And sometimes they contradict. But I don't need to live in a black and white world where everything, this is true and this is false.
Right.
I don't think in that way. It's a false dichotomy. I feel like there's different ways of addressing the same problem or a system, and so if they can't be harmonized and just reduced to the same teaching, they live in tension, and I don't have to have. Well, I'll say it this way. I don't need to live in a rational world necessarily or an irrational world. I live in somewhere in between in what I would say is a non-rational world, a mystical world. And so perhaps the definition for me at this point is I'm post-Christian, as I would be, but I'm not quite a good Muslim or a Hindu. I can celebrate those differences with those people as my brothers and sisters, and don't feel a strong need at this point to fix them, repair them, save them, evangelize them, teach them. We're all, I assume, doing the best we can.
That's a great way to look at it. That's awesome. Yeah.
You know, you're a Hindu, you're a Buddhist, okay. We don't, and I can learn from you.
Yeah, that's the great thing, is to be
And you can
teachable,
teach
right?
me.
Yeah, to be teachable.
And so I go to, in November I take 20 students to India, and these are typical Oregonian juniors and seniors in college who have grown up in the least churched state in the country. And so I take them not only to a Hindu temple, I take them to church.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't want to go to church. You'll go to a temple.
Yeah, I go to a temple.
But you'll go to a mosque, but you won't go to a church?
Yeah.
What's wrong? What do you see the problem there?
So much.
God is everywhere.
Yeah.
In that place, in that place, in that
So
place.
much negativity against Christianity. It's unbelievable.
Well,
Right?
why are you so, well, because they did stupid things. All right.
I know.
Is that new information?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And so we celebrate our, what can I say, our not having a religion.
Yeah.
If that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean? Well, how does that change my life? How do I live day to day? Well, I need to be more respectful of people who are different from me, which is everybody.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Be more open to other people and accepting.
And my spirituality isn't necessarily tied to religion, because that gets me in trouble. But it's also comes and goes. Some days I wake up in the morning and I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything. And the next day I wake up and I believe in everything.
Yeah.
And I don't need counseling.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is normal that I would have these kinds, and I need to be sensitive then that today I just don't feel very good about the planet and how it's working. But tomorrow I may.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said obviously it was just not in the route of the conversation, but you were a Vietnam vet, and you were married prior to going to Vietnam or after you got
No,
back?
let's see, I got married when I came home after the war.
Okay.
And I was in college and trying to figure out life. And
Yeah.
GI Bill, and they paid for it, and that's where I met my wife.
Okay. And is your wife, is she a big part of, you know, I mean, she went to Indonesia with you, right?
Yeah.
She's heavily involved in
Yeah.
in the church and spiritual practices.
Yeah, we have. I have 2 kids, biological kids, and I adopted 2 kids. And as I was telling you earlier, before we were talking on the podcast, I took my 2 teenage sons. When they graduated from high school, I took them to India. And,
Yeah.
and India, Mother India, just takes you and just, you know, they took my boys, and she just gave them a hug that just you know, at 18 you know everything.
Right. What were your boys thinking before they went to India?
They weren't thinking.
What-
India will start you on a path.
Oh yeah.
So I'm in
I'm
these
sure.
in these wonderful places. I can remember.
Were they involved in the church at all before that?
No,
Were
they hate
They
religion.
hated
They
religion.
hate church. They hate Christianity.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, fix that. I'll take you to India."
Okay.
And so I was in this marketplace, and it was Sunday, and there must have been 25,000 people at this place we were at. It was a market, huge market, and we're in this sea of people. And with as far as you could see, it was solid people.
Oh wow.
1 inch
Yeah.
from you. And you couldn't freak out on that,
Yeah.
because there are all these people, and you're the only white person in that.
Yeah.
Or you could celebrate the wonderfulness of this.
Wow. Yeah.
And so my boys are going, you know, white Eugene, you know, and now we're messing around, and they're the only white kids in this sea of black people, brown people, and they don't talk, smell, eat, or think anything like you.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
Well, for me, you embrace it and you celebrate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was that. You know, you can't really teach that. You got to do that. And this is the world we live in.
Right.
And I remember in Chennai has, I don't know, 9 or 10 million people, and I think we saw every one of them the same day.
Yeah. That's a lot of people.
And so that pushes, you know, I'm used to being white and in a majority religion, and now that doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you can't, you know, this is the celebration of the world as it is. And so these are the spiritual exercises that I give the students to stretch them.
That's absolutely what it is. Yeah, that's great.
No one else is like me, and I'm going to fix them, or I'm going to embrace them.
Yeah.
And shut my mouth.
Yeah. What did your boys think? So before they went over there, you said they were like messing around with a little.
They're typical Eugenian.
They thought they're Buddhist or Hindu.
Yeah, they thought they just picked a random religion that would annoy me, which doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
they thought they would.
They thought, well, geez, you know. So they have a Buddhist shrine and a Hindu shrine in their bedrooms, and that was. I don't know if they were trying to annoy Grandpa.
They probably wanted something different. And I think it's it's starting to become a little vogue now. You know, it's like exotic. You know, and you know, a lot of people get into it because it's trendy. You know.
Right. So we're now in India with over 1 billion people, and your coolness of being a Hindu.
Some real Hindus. Some real Hindus.
You want to, let's talk to these Hindus. Let's crawl inside their heads. Let's learn what the Sanskrit means on this and this. Okay, this is the opportunity. I mean, this is what you said you were in Eugene. Now you're in India. Let's play the game, okay?
Yeah. That's so great.
So reality hit. You know, you could be cool and be a Buddhist, but in a Buddhist context, that's the norm.
Yeah.
You're not rebelling now.
Right.
You're conforming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, so they're post India right now, and I do hope that they take India at more than a tourist level.
I don't think it. I mean, I'm sure it had to have made a huge impact, on them. I know,
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen, I don't know. I'm sure they're still processing it too.
Well, I remember my kids growing up in Indonesia in the Muslim context. They'd never been to the United States.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so in a room, we come back to the United States, and there's all these white people.
Yeah.
What do I do with that in Eugene? And it was a Muslim context. Our neighbors were Muslims. Our friends were Muslims. It was. It's just the dimensions of how you think about yourself and who am I and what am I.
Yeah, it'll shape you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember kids. We come back to parties in Eugene, and my kids are little now, and they're now back in the United States, and we go to a party, and they come in, and their identity was not an identity of a white American child. And so they go to a party and gravitate towards the people who were a black or brown skin, because that's the only people they know.
Yeah.
There's all these white people here. What? You're white.
Yeah. They still felt
yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah. Wow.
So their identity of who am I, as I was shaped by my childhood of being white and a fundamentalist Christian, and now they're being shaped, for good or bad, on who am I, what am I, and then you have to deal with that and make choices. I don't think my growing up as a fundamentalist Christian gave me the power to be critical of culture, mine and others, because we were critical.
Yeah.
And we're not conformists. I mean, we aren't. Everybody else is doing X. We're not doing X. We're Christians.
Right.
Christians don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And so I have this skill set that I can be a conformist or a non-conformist, and in some ways I'm in charge.
Yes.
Not the dominant culture, just pulling switches and saying you do this and this, and mindless.
Right.
Because we were in some ways non-conformists, and kind of funny, kind of odd, our habits and all that made fun of, and that made me stronger.
Yeah. Right.
Because I'm not conforming to the dominant culture, whatever culture it is, unless I go through a process where I'm saying, yeah, that's good, or no, that's not.
Right. Yeah.
So I have a system of thinking through things. That can be scary, but I honor my Appalachian hillbilly redneck craziness because that's part of who I am.
Yeah, right.
That's part of who I am, and so I honor that. Those traditions. I don't follow all those traditions now, but if I was in West Virginia with my snake handling friends and pick up those rattlesnakes and worship and not be judgmental.
Wow, yeah.
Those people were born into that.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do those things because that's how they were raised.
Yeah, right.
It's not my ways, but they're dead serious what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're hard-headed, and that's a strength that you can use. You can make life hard for you too.
Absolutely right. It's how you use it. Yeah. That's great. So now, what do you do? You do a lot you take the high school, the college students to India and open their eyes up, and you have your own local church. Is there anything else you do kind of on a regular basis?
Well, right now I'm working Gay Pride today.
Okay, yeah, I seen that on the
celebrate. Yeah. I'm not. Of course, I was raised homophobic.
Yeah.
Because that's.
Yeah, that's how I was too. Right? Yeah.
But okay. Now I celebrate.
That's great. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so all my lesbians and straight or whatever, I don't have to play with that anymore. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to judge it. It's kind of liberating to you're socialized into this is right and this is wrong, and you live that way for the rest of your life. It's easy. Never have to think about it, never have to know those people, never have to know their names, never have to be around them, and things happen, and you say, okay, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So part of my life is liberating myself from
old concepts.
Or concepts that don't work anymore.
Right. Yeah. Faulted concepts, yeah.
And you get them from your culture or your family or your school or your religion or whatever. You can reshuffle the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can say, okay, that worked for me, it doesn't work for me anymore. And you can be more responsible for what's in your head.
Yeah.
And how you act and what you eat and how you behave. It also means that you probably lose people. My fundamentalist Christian brothers and sisters don't want to have mostly anything to do with me anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And I understand that. They have to.
Yeah.
They can't hang around with me. They can't listen to what I have to say. And because I'm poison.
Yeah.
It threatens their structures. And I don't want to be mean about it. I don't need to do that. That's how they live. And so I'm not wanting them to necessarily join me. Tonight, we'll have 30 or 40 religions all in one geographical space, more or less celebrating
prayers for
different paths.
Yeah, prayers for different paths for everybody, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
We have to live in this world together.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be on the same page as I am. And so what do? If I can exercise my power and make you join my club.
Yeah.
But it seems to be not productive.
Right. It doesn't seem to be the spiritual solution, right? It would be better just to come together and to celebrate, positivity and unity, and that's how people can grow anyways. Right?
We're not all the same. We never can be all the same.
No, yeah.
And
why would you want to be? Why would you want to be everybody else around, right?
You can only eat vanilla ice cream for the rest of your life if you want to, but there's a lot of other flavors out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to taste every one of them if I can.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great.
So I don't like.
What? So out of all your studies and stuff, I like to ask this question: if there's anybody that was watching that was interested on picking one of your paths that you've studied and got to be part of practice, what would you say would be a good way to get into your spiritual practices? how you went about it, like through like an educational way, or did you kind of just submersed yourself in the culture, right?
Well, you feed yourself through the brain, but you feed yourself through the heart. So I took every course on Islam I could in the universities, everyone, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And then I started going to the mosque. I started hanging around with Muslims.
Yeah.
And I drink coffee with Muslims every day for 5 years. Okay,
Yeah.
we talk. And I tried to evangelize Muslims, and they tried to evangelize me. 'Cause it's funny, you sit down with a hard-headed Christian, me, and a hard-headed Muslim, and we go at it.
Yeah.
And he was smart and I was smart, and we read everything,
Yeah.
everything you can read on evangelizing a Muslim or evangelizing a Christian, and you go at it. And so this was in graduate school, and he was the one guy I did it. If you're just smart enough, you could convert this guy. If you just read enough books, if you took enough courses,
Right.
that doesn't work.
No.
Because when you have smart people reading academics, so we just drink coffee, and at the end we had to. He's not going to budge
Mm-hmm.
with a gun to his head.
Yeah.
I'm not going to budge
Yeah.
with a gun to my head. I'll
Yeah.
die for my faith.
Yeah.
Okay, he will too.
Right.
So what do we got to do? Well, we need to drink coffee and
Just
eat
talk. Yeah.
and talk
Yeah.
and love each other.
That's great. That's
Give
great.
up, because we couldn't fight and kill each other, but that still wouldn't get us anywhere.
Yeah.
We had to say, all right, you're not moving, I'm not moving, but we love some of the same things,
Mhm.
and so that's where we ended it, a stalemate.
Yeah.
When you play chess with someone who's as smart as you are and knows all your moves,
Mm-hmm.
eventually you have
Right.
to do, what do I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
What do I do? So,
Yeah. So yeah, that's
the experiential then.
experience is a big part of it, right? The knowledge is one thing. Like I have my Buddhism books, but I could read them all day long and not still be a practicing Buddhist, right?
You got
to get out there and do it.
You need a community.
Right.
So I'm hanging around in the Muslim community, living, eating. I'm doing all the practices they do, the prayers they do, the fasting they do, the customs they do. I dress like a Muslim. I talk like a Muslim. I eat like a Muslim. And they say, Chuck, you're a Muslim. Well, I'm a Christian. No, you're not. You're a Muslim.
Yeah.
And there's a half truth to that.
Right.
I'm not. I love Islam, and I see at the mosque the fear that my brothers and sisters at the mosque have, because the community is not comfortable.
Mm.
And I'm saying, and these are good people. They love and they live their lives just like you and me.
There's a lot of prejudice toward
Chuck,
it.
you don't know. You don't understand. Yeah, I read all. I read. I'm aware of ISIS, and I'm aware of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I read this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stupid. They're my brothers and sisters.
Right.
We don't agree on things. Fine.
Yeah.
We gotta live together.
Yeah.
And I can say that. I try to get some of my friends to go to the mosque with me at the prayers, and come on.
Like,
Oh, I didn't die there.
yeah.
No, these are good people.
Yeah. I mean, just to live in America and to stay here for several years, I mean, you don't have too many good opinions of Muslims, or mosques, You don't get taught all the, the things that you should accept, from them or anything, and work with them. It's not taught that in America. So
you want me to hate those people?
yeah, it's
Are you serious?
pretty bad.
You don't even know a Muslim. You don't even know a man, a woman in town who's a Muslim, and you hate them.
Right. Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's not really spiritual.
How do you
is
sleep
it?
at night?
Yeah. Yeah. It just
Or a
doesn't make
Buddhist,
sense.
or a Hindu.
Right.
Do you even know a Hindu?
Right.
Have you ever sat down? Well, no, not really. Well, So what kind of a life do you live that the gatekeeping is going on?
Right.
You can't interact with someone who's different from you.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to be exposed to many different ways, many different things, you know. I gotta go and live in Italy when I was for a few months, and when I was 15, you know, and got to see, you know, that there is a different part of the world than America. You know, I think it's necessary. I think it's vital for almost everybody when they're growing up, when they're, you know, either through childhood or through their adult years. You know, sometime go and travel and see a different culture, right? And experience it, and you can see things in a different way, you know. And I really like having you on, because this is just exactly how the podcast is supposed to be about. It's definitely like, you know, this is exactly what it's meant to be. And do you have any like amazing quotes? Like, you've learned a lot, you've studied a lot. Do you have any like Hindu profound quotes? Buddhist, Christian? What do you like to? Do you have any Bible verses you really like?
Okay, this is one from. Oh, I got a lot of stuff I like. I'll pick one from Christianity. Mark. In Mark, there's this passage where a woman comes up to Jesus. And she asks him to heal her daughter. And this woman who comes up to Jesus is not a Jew. And he kind of brushes her off. Get lost. Mm. And she says, even the dogs get to eat under the master's table. So she takes Jesus on. She's a woman. She's nobody. Mm-hmm. Unclean. Mm-hmm. Not a believer. And Jesus says, okay. And heals her son.
Oh, wow.
So, if Jesus is the main man that we're following and believe and all that song and dance, the example is supposedly God in human form being taught from the lowest of the low.
Right. To be humble, right?
To be humble. Even God.
Yeah. That is profound. I really like it. What Bible verse was that?
It's in Mark 6, I forget.
Mark 6 something?
It's Jesus encountering this Samaritan.
Wow, okay.
And so it just turns.
Yeah.
Turns. What? I never heard that in a sermon. Nobody's going to say that. I mean, even this is the, yeah.
That's great.
That's how life works. The paradoxes, the contradictions in that passage make me a believer. Mm.
Yeah, it touches your soul, right? Yeah.
I mean, so that would be, that's the latest one I'm working on.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that with me. Let me make sure we got all this one more time here. Oh yeah. So that was about an hour and 15 minutes total.
Okay.
I mean, do you have anything else you would like to go from here?
Since I teach social sciences, as an anthropologist, my job was to take my students and, as much as I could, crawl inside the head of that other person. Mm-hmm. So as an anthropologist, I'm trying then to think, not as I think, but as another person. Right. That skill set. So pick someone who is not like you in any way, and your job, that's just the homework assignment. Okay. Crawl in their head.
Yeah.
Especially your enemy.
Yeah, no. Right.
Choose someone you hate, someone you can't stand. and say, teach me.
That's great.
And then shut up.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, give back to them what they said. And they say, yeah, you paid attention to me. You listened to me.
Mm.
So I work with the street people here in town, Ostam. My job is to listen. So that people come off the street and they're hungry, they're whatever. And my job is to offer them a gift. And the gift is to listen to them.
That's good.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Life's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. People treat me terrible. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what people just want to hear, you know? They just want somebody to listen to them.
And I can't fix them. I can't fix the world.
Right.
And the rottenness. I can't listen to you.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. This is perfect. It was a really good one. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to, talking to you later in the future.
Thanks.
Maybe having some of your friends come on that, some Hindus or some
Oh, yeah.
whoever. I don't care. I'll bring them all on and and we'll keep going with this.
Everybody has something to teach me and you.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. That's exactly what this podcast was intended to do, was to break down stereotypes and negative judgments and opinions on the different various spiritual practices and religions out there, and to find the common thread that goes through all of them. And that's exactly what we talked about today. So hopefully some people out there can get to hear this and go from there. If anybody has any questions for you out there, and I'll they can email me or get a hold of me, and then maybe I can pass on a question or something like that to you. All right. Well, thanks Chuck. Appreciate it.